All right, hello and welcome. This is a quick video, hopefully a quick video, explaining the FRQ for AP Comparative Government and Politics. How to go about, make this happen, how you can work to get a 5. My name is Mr. Matthew Larson, and away we go. Now, first thing you need to understand is the background. So the AP Comparative Government and Politics course, the assessment is broken up into two different parts. Section 1, which is a multiple choice question, and Section 2, which is your FRQ, or free response questions. That's what we're going to be focusing on right here. So it's Section 2 of the AP exam, and it's going to be broken up into 4 different sections. And I'm going to explain these 4 sections as we go. But those 4 sections are conceptual analysis, quantitative analysis, comparative analysis, and an argumentative essay. Right away, you can see the word analysis popping up 3 different times. It's going to be crucially important that you analyze everything and know how to analyze it well. First and foremost, you need to understand the task words. Now, task words are significant because they explain what you need to do. So if you want to go ahead and score a 5, you need to make sure you're actually doing what the task word is asking. So I've tried to highlight these in red to make it easy for you to see the exact thing of what you need to do for each task word. I'm going to go through them as well. So the first one is compare. If you were comparing something, you need to provide both a description and an explanation, or one or the other. So description, what is this thing like? If I'm trying to describe an apple, I'm going to describe it as kind of waxy on the outside. It could be red, green, yellow, or a combination of between. It's going to be a little rough thing on the top as a stem. The bottom's going to have a little bit of poke right through there. Once you pull it open or crack it open, more eating it, I guess, the inside is going to be kind of hard and firm, yet also juicy. We're going to explain the similarities and or the differences. So if I'm comparing an apple to a lemon's going to have a little bit of a rougher side on the outside. It's probably going to be yellow, maybe a little bit green depending on the time of year. The inside is going to be kind of like put together completely different than an apple. Little tiny things that are all hooked together versus one kind of big core. Define is when you provide a specific meaning. You need to give the definition. So define democratization. That would be the process of becoming a democracy. So becoming more open. You're giving a specific meaning. Compare, you're giving a description. Define, you are focused in specific meaning. When you're describing something, this is giving relative characteristics of a certain thing. So again, description and describe, this is a portion of the compare. So there's going to be a little bit of a similarity right through there. Give characteristics, but give characteristics that are relevant. When we're describing dogs, for example, don't say that they come from wolves. That's not relevant to the description of a Chihuahua. Make sure we're giving the relevant characteristics of a specific thing or a specific topic. So if we're focusing on authoritarianism, for example, give the relevant characteristics of an authoritarian state. For example, it's going to have limited personal freedom. The supremacy of the state is more important than the supremacy of the individual. Make sure it's relevant and characteristic. So what are the things we look for when we're trying to find this particular thing? What are the characteristics? What are the things we're looking for when we're trying to define and determine whether or not a place is an authoritarian state? Develop an argument is where you're going to make a claim, and then you back your claim up with evidence. Okay, so for example, we're going to talk about happy people tend to do better at work. And if we're going to have evidence from there, we're going to show data that proves that happy people do better. If you're going to develop an argument, you cannot just give a claim, and you cannot just give evidence. You need both, and both need to really interlock with one another if you want to do well. To draw a conclusion, you need to use the information that's available to demonstrate your understanding, and that understanding must be based on evidence. So this is where you're going to take the information that you have in front of you. This is likely going to be a quantitative assessment question. The information is provided. Look at what you have and then come to an understanding. Try to take something further and use the evidence that is there. It is very important, if you are told to draw a conclusion, that you list and you cite the evidence that is provided. Identify, this is where you're going to look at specific information at a specific topic, and you do not need to elaborate or explain. You point it out. Identify what words are in red and underlined on the screen. Available information, understanding based on evidence, specific information, without. You just say what they are. You do not need to explain. When you're explaining, you need to provide information about how, why, or something is taking place, and you need to use evidence and reason. So previously, when we're looking at identify, where you're just stating what it is, this is where you're taking it further. You're stating what it is, and then you're explaining why this matters. Typically, you'll either explain the how or the why. The how talks about the relationship, the process, pattern, position, situation, or outcome. So how, explain the lead up to World War II and the United States involvement in World War II. So we could talk about the relationship between the United States and Japan. We could talk about the relationship between the United States and China, the process that happened before then, or United States and the UK, excuse me. We could talk about the process that happens before then. So how did the United States and Japan have this process of kind of breaking down as they're going? How did the United States support the British in their war effort? What are the patterns that we've seen happen over time and time again? How is this similar to other events that might have happened in the past? What is the position of a certain thing in relation to another thing? Explaining the situation. So what's going on here? What are the different factors that you need to understand if you want to understand and kind of learn how to make a decision, or the outcome? The why focuses on the motivations or the reason. So what was the motivation for the Japanese attacking Pearl Harbor? Well, the United States had cut off their oil access. They felt like they had to do something. What was the justification for a certain thing happening? Why were they people motivated to do this? Why was Russia motivated to invade Ukraine? What was the reason behind the situation? Look at a pattern, position, situation, or outcome. Explaining is more, or the how is more about the relationships, the like going into depth. This is more about the motivation. So how specifically do something work? Why? What's the reason for this happening? Now, we're going to go into the specific types of question you're going to be asked. The first one is your conceptual analysis. Your conceptual analysis question simply looks at your ability to define, describe a concept, and then explaining that concept, either explaining it or comparing it to a different thing, as you can see written on the screen. Conceptual analysis is going to be 11% of your total score. So this is a large chunk of your assessment. I know 11% doesn't seem like a lot when we're looking at 100, but it's one idea, and if you do well on this, you're going to get a lot of those points. Mastering the AP assessment is not about knowing everything. It's about picking up the points where you can, being able to make an educated guess, and going from there. They suggest you take about 10 minutes on this time. Don't go over that 10 minutes. If you do, you're going to struggle on the other FRQ style questions. And there's a possibility of 4 points that you can gain on this. Those points are going to tally up and help you do well on your actual AP assessment, help you get that 5. Now, right here on the screen, you can see a sample question that you would have. All the samples that are provided in this video do come from the AP Comparative Government and Politics course guide. This one is page 163 if you would like to take a chance to look at it for yourself. First thing you need to do, you need to define economic liberalization. Again, what did I say definition is? If you forget, pause the video, go back and look at the command term for definition. Describe, explain one reason, and then explain why a decision is going to happen here. Now, I'm going to show you the mark scheme and how you would go ahead and get this graded. You can see right here, here's an acceptable answer that you could have, 1 point here. If you do this, you get the point. If you don't describe it in an acceptable way, you don't get the point. Meaning you could get up to 3 points on this one. That doesn't mean you're not going to get a 5. You could still do it, but it's going to hurt it when you're going to do that. One thing I do like to remind students of as well when we're looking at this is get the easy points while you can get the easy points. If you are struggling with the idea of explaining one reason why a country would choose or why a government would choose to liberalize its economy, but you know economic liberalization, write the thing you know, skip it, come back to it when you have some more time. Again, you've only got 10 minutes to answer all these questions, so make sure you're using your time wisely. Don't go over on that, trying to make the perfect explanation of why the country would go about and do this. Just simply answer the question, explain it. A couple sentences could be an explanation. Stop and move on. Again, you can see right through here. I would recommend you pause the video and read this as you're going through to see exactly the kind of things that are acceptable. This is exactly what the assessor is going to be looking at in terms of making sure you are going to get those points. Again, right through here. Different options. You can see it is important to remember there are multiple reasons. The person who's assessing your assessment is going to understand those reasons. They're teachers just like me who know what's going on. They know the content very well. They can explain the content. So as long as you give an answer that explains what you're actually supposed to be doing, you're going to be fine. The next one is your quantitative analysis. Now, quantitative analysis is where you're going to have data in the form of a table, graph, map, infographic. You're going to have something in front of you. Now, the nice thing about this is the content is going to be provided. You're going to have all the answers directly in front of you. You just need to know how to read that. That's how you're going to be able to study for this one. Kind of like imagining you're learning a language. You're going to have all the words in front of you, but if you don't speak the language, you're not going to know what it says. You need to understand how the data is being represented and what the data is showing, the concepts that are being illustrated, the data and what it's pointing to, possible reasons for the data, kind of similar to the OPVL process in history, origin, purpose, value, limitation. Look at what the information is, explain how it's going on there. This is 12.5% of your total score, and they recommend 20 minutes on this section. So previous section, you had 10 minutes. This one, you've got double the amount of time. Now, one question I frequently get asked is, what if I only spend like 8 minutes on the first part? That means you have an extra 2 minutes you can use somewhere else on the assessment. So if you want to use it here, you can. If you want to save it for the argumentative essay, you can. But it's important to try to balance your time. Take the recommended time. Don't go over the recommended time. Go for there, and you should be good. 5 possible points you can get in quantitative. Right here, you can see an example. So again, this is coming from the course guide, page 165. We have the image to the side, that chart. Right, in the chart, we can see the different course countries, the election turnout in those countries over a series of years, and they're going to be hooked together. So again, look at the graph and identify the country with the highest turnout in a single election year. So all we need to do is look at the graph, see which one's the highest. We can see the dotted line that's above 80 in 2009, and we can see that that is Iran. We answer this question by simply stating Iran. Using the data, describe. If you forget what describe is, pause the video, go back to look at the command terms. Again, you can see right here, acceptable answers. You do not need to write full sentences for all of these. You simply need to answer the question. As you can see, that first question is a one-word answer. That's not going to take very long. You've got 20 minutes to do this, so make sure you're getting the easy points while you can. Again, you can pause the video, look at the different explanations of acceptable answers, and you are good to go. We keep going along here. The next question you're going to have is comparative analysis. Comparative analysis is your ability to look at concepts, systems, institutions, or policies in different course countries. It is important to mention at least 2 countries that are in the course. If you're from the United States, as a lot of people who will probably be watching this will be, or have that understanding because it's AP Comparative Government and Politics based out of the College Board, don't mention the United States. It's not one of the course countries you want to talk about. Yes, it might be an easy example, but don't mention the United States. Focus on one of the 6 course countries: Iran, Russia, Nigeria, United Kingdom, Mexico, and China. So make sure you're looking at those. Describe examples of a concept and institution within those countries. Look how they're similar, look how they're different. Again, 12.5% of your total score, suggested time of 20 minutes, and a possibility of 5 points. So just like the previous question, you've got 20 minutes to answer. At maximum, you could go over, but it's recommended about 20 minutes to answer that question. Here is going to be a sample. A, B, C, you look right through here. So A, define legislative independence. So what is legislative independence in general? Just give me the definition. You don't need to explain why or what it is. Just tell me what it is. Explain how legislative independence is used by governmental institutions in 2 different AP Comparative Government and Politics course countries. We could talk about legislative independence in Nigeria. For example, the Nigerian legislative branch has the ability to pass laws. The president has to sign them. If the president says no and vetoes those laws, the legislative branch can override that veto. That's a way of having some maintenance of independence over there. Mexico does the exact same thing. So we have 2 similar systems going on. We can go ahead and talk about that. Again, you can see stuff right through here. The first one, just giving the definition, explaining what's going on. Part B is going to be worth 2 points because you're looking at 2 different countries. So if you only explain independence in Nigeria, for example, but you don't talk about another course country, you're only going to get 1 point. Now, if you get to the point where you're completely lost and you're trying to figure out, like, I don't know what's going on, but I really understand the United Kingdom, just write about the United Kingdom, get that 1 point. It's not as good as getting the 2 points, but it's better to bring in something than bring in nothing at all. Section C, again, is going to be the same kind of system as Section B. Make sure you talk about 2 countries. Samples are right here. Pause the video if you would like some specifics on those countries. And lastly comes the argumentative essay. Now, the argumentative essay is going to assess your ability to articulate a claim, provide specific evidence and examples that back up that claim, use reasoning, and then respond to an alternative perspective. Now, this is worth 14% of your total score. That is a significant portion. It's the largest portion of your overall score. However, do not be focused specifically on the argumentative essay. Pick up the low-hanging fruit. You're going to have simple ones. The previous sections are worth 12.5 points apiece. This is worth 14 points. If you do well in 2 of those, you have more points than you would if you screw up this one. Focus on those as well. Don't become overwhelmed and focus specifically on the argumentative essay. Yes, it's important. Yes, you need to do well. It is not the end-all, be-all. The suggested time for the argumentative essay is 40 minutes. One thing I like to tell students in terms of studying is practice writing this in 30 minutes. When you get to the actual AP assessment and you've got that extra 10 minutes of time, it's going to feel amazing. You're going to do great, and you will do significantly better than if you practice this writing it in 50 minutes. That's going to seem a lot more rushed. Possibility of 5 points on the argumentative essay. Question here again, 169 in the course guide. You can see the question right through here. You need to explain things and going, looking at the ideas of power, authority, and legitimacy. You need to use at least one of those ideas. You can go ahead and use more. Now, one thing I would recommend when you're looking at these argumentative essay questions is come back to the idea of stability. Countries do things to maintain stability. Governments want to maintain stability. If there is not stability, the country is in danger of falling. The government is in danger of falling. People don't want to lose power. If you have it, you want to make sure it's in place. Really, if you can connect this back to the idea of stability in some way, you're going to be doing a lot better. Again, you can see right here, if you have no points, this is what you would do. If you have 1 point, you go here. You need to make a claim. You need to have a thesis. One of those things. Something does something because of reasons, X, Y, and Z because of reasons. Something does something. State what you're going to do. You have examples here. You need to do those. You shouldn't just restate the prompt, as you can see right through there. You need to make an argument, and you need to justify that argument. Now, if you were to write an argumentative essay, but you don't state an argument, you can still get points. You can still do well, but you're not going to be able to do as well because you need to have a thesis. A thesis is crucial. A thesis is really the kind of key to this essay. Do not forget a thesis. If you do forget a thesis, you're not going to be scoring 5. You're not going to be scoring 4. It's going to be problematic. Focus on your thesis. Second section right through here, again, 1 point. We're going to explain the evidence and why the evidence matters. So you have to back it up, and it has to relate to the thesis. So if you don't give a thesis, you're not going to be able to explain it. Again, pause the video, read this over, see exactly what's being stated, or look in your guide on page 172. This one's on 173. Again, explaining what's going on and all of that information there. That is all for this video. If you have any questions or would like to contact the slide, you can contact me via email. All the information is right here. I hope this was helpful. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you need anything. Good luck. You got this. Ace that course. Get a 5. I will see you later.